Lord have mercy. We have survived somehow, some way, hook or crook, 100 days of the Trump administration part two. And within these 100 days, we've seen a whole lot of shit happening. Folks just getting abducted from their homes. We've seen corruption on a level we've never seen before coming from the White House. And we've had calls for who's going to be the leader of the Democratic Party. Can Jasmine Crockett be the president? All other levels of corruption. The ports are empty. Religion and politics meeting at a place that is not healthy for everybody. We're going to discuss all that. And joining me this week is going to be the big homie TJ that y'all loved so much from the last time. It starts right now.
I'm up early for the dealers come out. Everybody is outside till the killers come out. You ain't eating, you just act full. I'm impactful. Dozen funerals in a month. I got that pull. I will give it to niggas in all rap forms. Ignatius out right now on all platforms.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen. There he is. It's TJ. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our own vet. He is a United States veteran, ladies and gentlemen. So you can't say that we don't believe in supporting our troops. TJ, my brother, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Lamont. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate this. This was a great idea you had. I look forward to it so much. I'm sorry we couldn't do it last time, but we'll charge forward. I love it.
Look, man, I'm thankful to you because you bring an expert voice in several areas where Republicans don't think Democrats can have an expert voice. You bring energy. And right now, a lot of people that are our color feel like they have no recourse for what's going on. And so I want to thank you for helping me have the energy to do this, because if you would have said no, I'd be kicking the can down the road. I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
And the part of this, my brother, is to unite us, to let us know that we've seen these type of people in power before and we've overcome them. It just takes coming together. And so for that, I want to thank you.
Oh, hey, no problem. Just doing what we can, You're right about the importance of galvanizing and energizing the folks out there, because I remember in November, after Trump won amazingly for a second time, it was an odd feeling. I'd like to get your thoughts on how you felt afterward, because the first time Trump won, the response was reflexive. It was rage. It was shock. It was anger. This time, it was a lot more morose. It was kind of like I certainly felt it, a calm resignation that, wow, the country is a lot worse than I thought it was. I as low of an opinion as I had about the United States of America's populace, I thought we were better than this. And a lot of folks kind of just threw in the towel. They said, okay, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I put so much work and effort into this. And if 77 million people, after all this work, said, yeah, we're going to go back to Trump, what is there to fight for? So I do understand the difficulty in trying to get people to even, individually get out there and get the message out. But we can't quit. We have no other choice. What are we going to do? Move? Just sit back and watch things crumble? Yeah, they're not going to take the country away from us without a fight. It's not going to happen.
For me personally, I wasn't surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't surprised the first time.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting to know who I am and the kind of circles I travel in.
Right.
I get privileged to hear rich white dudes talk off the cuff and sometimes drunk.
Yeah.
So I already knew that this resonated with them. One of the things we were going to talk about today is corruption loves corruption. Rich white dudes do everything they can to try to scheme the government to not pay taxes, to the point where it makes it easy for them to do more white collar crime. Who's the king of white collar crime? It's Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
But the issue that we had is, and the issue that continues to plague America, are all the people who are not in that class voting against their interests. All the people who are not in that class willing to be upset at folks who want to be happy and hopeful. They would rather be content seeing you upset and mad, even though it's hurting them. So him getting elected for the second time, and then he was going against a woman, a black woman at that. I was not surprised at all. It didn't surprise me. The thing that did surprise me was how quickly the hypocrites who claimed that they was for freedom turned and went to Trump, even though we had the riots. Now, the racism, I knew it. But these people that claim they're patriots and they're for freedom and they want to see those type of criminals in jail, now that part did shock me. And I'm upset about that. And I've told you, I've excommunicated people who have been in these quote unquote white circles who said they lost respect for me and anyone else who thinks Trump was wrong for pardoning the January 6th riot. I don't need you in my life because that is as hypocritical as the shit comes.
Well, so you said you were, it's weird, like we were the opposite on this. So you were, because I was surprised Trump won, not necessarily because I was unaware of the fact that there's a significant portion of the population that love everything, like which makes it difficult to have this discourse, because when you're pointing out the obvious crimes and the corruption and the crass libidinal, right, gross rage that of the Trump administration, they enjoy that. Like, they love it. It's one of the reasons they do support him. So I knew there was a significant portion there. I was surprised that the Gen Z men shifted right so much. I would have expected maybe a little bit, but not as much as it did. And that I just didn't think there were enough normal people who would sit this one out. That kind of did surprise me. I didn't expect that big of a chunk of the population to say, I'll just throw my hands up, I'm not going to participate. I thought that Trump would have seen, even if they weren't big fans of Harris, that Trump would have seen to be such a vile character that your average American would come out in droves. Didn't happen. So, yeah.
And I've been seeing it coming with young white men. I've been seeing it because the majority of them that are on dating apps, they're not having sex. And they would love to have a country where they can go into the gym and see these girls basically damn near naked, that they can just run up to them like it's Golden Corral at the buffet and say, you coming with me, I'm getting them panty draws. And Trump represents that for them. That's what Trump represents for them. There's not going to be any rules for women to say that I can't be touched and I can be grabbed by the pussy and get away with it. He represents that for those type of guys that ain't having sex. And I easily see why men like that flock to him. And to your point about the people that sat out, I was hearing lots of people that voted for Joe Biden still not ready to vote for a woman. Still not ready. Like some of the same people who sat out for Hillary, I talked to them and they said they wasn't going to vote for Harris. They just couldn't. And I'm just like, you excoriated me about how bad Trump 1.0 was. And now you can't go vote because it's Harris. She's a woman. She's even more qualified than Hillary, technically. And you can't go vote for that? No. My beliefs say that a man is supposed to be at the top of the ticket. And of course, I challenged that. But didn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's not based in logic in it at all. And the we should do, I would love to have this discussion with you sometime. Probably not this show. There's not enough time. But what you mentioned about the young men and the sexual frustration and how that is galvanizing a large portion of the population with like the red pill content and everything. And Trump made a lot of haste being on these right-wing podcasts and getting these guys to vote for them as if voting for Trump's going to get them a girlfriend. Folks, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. And even at the maximum use of their power for right-wing culture war, what exactly do you guys want? There's no universe in which women aren't going to participate in the workforce. And even if they did, you couldn't afford to support them. You guys don't make enough money. I know you don't. And there's nothing to solve this problem. And I think they kind of know this. And in a way, it's kind of like you said, well, if I can't get anything good out of it, I'm at least going to make the people I don't like miserable. It's spite-based politics, and Trump has tapped into that. It doesn't speak much for us as a nation, but that is where we are.
Exactly. Well said. So, my brother, as we get into this story, of course, we have to start with the petty grievances. I call it politics of being black. And if you're not African American, we call it the politics of living under MAGA. TJ, what is your petty grievance of the week that you want to extol? Oh, my man got records.
Oh yeah, I was so it's all right. So this one, I don't know. Have you seen this video? Does this look familiar at all to you?
No, I haven't seen this one.
Fantastic. This is a man, he's the lieutenant governor of the great state of Indiana. His name is Micah Beckwith. And he is about to, I kid you not, defend the honor of the 3/5 compromise. Let's go here.
Hey everybody, this is Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith. Want to give you an update on a bill, Senate Bill 289, which is called Unlawful Discrimination Bill. Senator Byrne is carrying that bill. It was in the Senate just a few minutes ago. Well, if you were watching or listening to the Senate, if you were trying to fall asleep and we're trying to get some good background noise on, you might have been listening. The Senate on the Democrat side, they got up and they started talking about how this bill embodies something to the effect of the 3/5 compromise. They were bringing that up. They were saying this is a bad bill because it actually just encourages discrimination, just like the 3/5 compromise, going all the way back to the foundations of our nation. I would like to share with you the 3/5 compromise is not a pro-discrimination compromise. It was not a pro-discrimination or a slave-driving compromise that the founders made. It was actually just the opposite. It was a compromise that the North made with the South. At the time, there were basically 13 independent nations. They had not really created a constitution. They were sort of a European Union-esque nation. And they were saying to the pro-slave states, hey, if you want to count your slaves to have representation, more representation in Congress, we're not going to let you do that. Because they knew that that would codify things like slavery into our nation. And the North stood up to the South. And they said, we're going to, if you're going to count your property, because the South says, hey, this is our property, but we want to count them in the congressional representation. We want to count them in the census. At the time, there was 30,000 people would equal one member of Congress. And so they said, we're going to count our slaves. We're going to get more members of Congress in the South. The North said, you can't do that. So what they came back to the South and they said, fine, if you want to count your property, your slaves as whole people, we're going to count our property. We're going to count our tables. We're going to count our chairs. We're going to count all the stuff that we have in our house. And the South said, well, you can't do that. And they said, well, you're doing it with your property. We're doing it with our property. So what they did is they came up with a 3/5 compromise. They said, you will only get 3/5 of a vote when it comes to your slave. And what that did, it actually limited the number of pro-slave representatives in Congress by 40%. This was a great move by the North to make sure that slavery would be eradicated in our nation. They knew what they were doing. But now here you have Senate Democrats in today's American Republic who do not understand that. They think the 3/5 compromise was something that was a scourge on black people. That's not what it was.
All right, so I want to pause. There's only like 10 more seconds I want to play here, but I kind of want to discuss this while we have the chance. So this is honestly the reason I brought this up, because one of my, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a petty grievance, but it's something that is very annoying, that the Republican Party and conservatives in general, they've kind of figured out that you becoming explicitly racist and anti-black will raise your popularity amongst conservatives, amongst your friends right there. And they do this thing all the time where they take American history and they twist it to make it say it actually wasn't so bad for black people. That's really one of the driving forces of the conservative movement, that they always talk about how important history is. But the second you bring up black history in any sense and how unfair it was and how unjust it was, stop complaining. It actually wasn't that bad. This is a particularly egregious example that, if you guys were wondering what happened, he says the 3/5 compromise was actually good because it took away representation from slave states. No, the fuck it didn't. What it did was give slave states more representation than they deserved, because they say, yeah, you have every slave you have will count as 3/5 in the census. That way you get. So he made it sound like they lost 40% of their reps. No, they gained an extra 60%. And by the way, they kept bitching about it anyway. That's the part that's wild to me, that if you read about the Constitution, it's all a series of concessions and handshakes and backslaps to stop the southern states from fucking whining, and they whine 80 more years anyway until they had a war. So I want to play a few more seconds on this, because the best part is just yet to come, because wait till you see what he blamed.
TJ, I don't know if I could take it, but
Yeah,
I don't know if you can see me over here wiggling like a worm about to be eaten by. Go ahead, man. Lord, jeez.
All right, you are not going to be surprised at his answer. I'll give you that much.
All right.
And how did we get to this place? We got to this place because of DEI in education. We got to this place because you have professors at woke schools that will not teach the history of what actually happened back in the foundations of our nation.
All right, I just had to play that last part because, my God, man, if that isn't the cherry on the sundae, right? It's just, not only am I going to spout this virulently anti-black propaganda, this whitewashing and soothing and equivocating about how great the 3/5 compromise actually is. When I talk about why people don't know about how great it was, I'm going to blame DEI. It is perfect. It is absolutely perfect. So I thought, like, my whole point about the grievances was people do this all the, you hang around rich white guys, you know how they talk and everything. That is a common parlance of this group. And it starts from the top. The Republican Party specializes in this. So yeah, that's mine.
Wow. I don't know how to follow up with that, but first I got to comment on that. One of the things we're covering today is how they're trying to whitewash history even further. And I've coined a new phrase. I call it CWT, critical white man theory, where they whitewash the real history of what's going on. And not only that, but they hide from you what their forefathers that they love to reference so much.
Yep.
The bad shit that they was doing. They hide that shit because they don't want you to know about that. But anyway, it frustrates me, TJ, because not only do you, what frustrates me about your grievance is I grew up around white people who love to use big words that they know some people don't understand. And to be honest with you, some of their asses don't understand it. And they use those big words to codify trailer park trash, people who haven't been in certain areas, people who don't have expertise in a certain area.
Yeah.
Number one, to make them feel good. And number two, to have those people think that they are experts in whatever they're talking about, just like this guy did. Because if you really and truly don't know the history of what he was talking about, that shit might sound good.
Yep.
What he said might sound good. I can recall right-wing talk radio hosts used to say that Barack Obama wasn't the first black president. And they would say, look it up. And they would say that because they know your dumb white asses have no critical thinking, curiosity, and you wouldn't look it up. But I did. And the person that they was trying to say was the first black president was a Lebanese senator that they was trying to say was the first black president because because he sent letters back and forth to the founding fathers about what the African nations needed from this new emerging country.
And they claimed he was a president. How would they try to get away with it? Wow. Yeah, I hadn't heard that one. Wow.
That should speak to you about how dumb base is. And it should speak to people about how they want to keep that base dumb for power. That's what they're doing here. And on top of that, they want to keep the generations not in the position of having sympathy and apathy for the plight of marginalized people. Because if you did, children don't come out the womb full of hate. They come out the womb full of ignorance and love. And then they learn good versus evil, what's wrong, what's right, and what would be right versus what would be wrong would be the way this country was built. It was stolen from two groups, if you want to be honest with you. They stole it from the queen, number one. Then they stole it from the natives that was already. I mean, if we being 100,
justice for King George III. Yeah, we got.
If we're gonna keep it 100, and that's what we doing. You fucking white people stole it from two groups.
Yeah.
But you don't talk about that like that. You make it seem like the Pilgrims came here and they broke bread with the natives. But you do. Anyway, I digress. I could go on and on about TJ's politicking while you're black. Let me just give you my simple one that is not as deep as yours. I had two, but I'm gonna keep it to one this time. My politicking while black is when I go to a wholesale warehouse, ladies and gentlemen. Wholesale warehouse, such as Costco. And those wholesale warehouses are so that you can get bulk things for cheap. You want to know what gets on my fucking nerves when I'm there? That they got all these T-Mobile and Verizon salespeople chasing me around the produce section when I'm
Oh
trying to get
no!
fruit,
Oh
trying
no!
to get me to buy their high-priced, high-ass wireless service when I'm in a place of wholesale. And then what even makes me even madder is when the boss and is with two black guys and they'll see me and they'll send the black guy because they think that's going to make it easier for a sale. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm politicking and I'm being petty on today. TJ, what you think? Am I being too harsh? I
No,
mean,
no, because I understand why you asked that question, because I think in a vacuum, if someone heard that, they probably wouldn't register why this bothers you. But if you're not black, you don't understand that Lamont's gone through this dozens of times in his life. You expect it, you know it's going to happen, and when that happens over and over again, you're like, okay, I see what's going on here. It's kind of I don't want to waste these for labor, but it's kind of like when you're being treated differently because you're black and you know it, but there's enough plausible deniability where you can't come right out and accuse them of it, and it's frustrating. It's very annoying. It's kind of like it's like when you're in a majority white, say, school or business or something, and the photographer comes around, you know he's heading for your ass. You know he's coming for you. Yes. Yep. Oh, we need the diversity picture here, and you recognize this. And when this chases you every single day, you have to block a lot of it out. Honestly, you have to say, okay, that happens. But when you notice it, it sticks in your mind. You are not being unreasonable at all. I understand.
Okay. All right. Well, let me get you to the subject matters at hand. I know you are a man who likes to go through these subjects. So let me give you the subjects and you pick which one you want.
All right, let's go.
It's some good ones this week. So this is all the things that happens this week. And it's some sad shit. Number one, it pays to be racist. Something you've already hit on. That's number one. God doesn't want diversity. That's number two. The big lie of the GOP. That's number three. Critical white man theory. That's number four. And last but not least, could Jasmine Crockett actually win the presidency of the United States in the next election? Pick which one you want, my brother.
All right. I'm going to go with it pays to be racist because I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. And I'd like, to go over the story.
Oh, Lord. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before I play the clip, there is an Anglo-Saxon woman who looks nasty as hell, trailer park crash as hell, holding a baby that claims a black baby took something out of her baby's bag, and she refers to calling him the N-word, nigger. Over and over again, somebody pulls out the camera, and normally the camera has been the thing to get people to chill out. Well, not under Trump. No, she continues to say it. And then on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, instead of being embarrassed, she got paid. Take a look at this bull jive.
You call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger?
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one? He's gonna.
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger, the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act.
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
Huh.
Fuck off.
Okay, we'll see about that with the internet.
Racist calls a black boy with autism the N-word several times. And you guys raised $250,000 for her? I am beyond disturbed. I am beyond, I can't even fathom. Did you see the comments? White people should not be forced to live among monkeys. Black fragility is getting pretty tiring. Sometimes to be accurate, you have to use unpleasant speech. White advocacy. I want to say that I'm shocked. But I'm not shocked. I'm angry. I'm angry because are you kidding me? Disregard everything that little black boy and the people around him had to deal with. But let's protect this white woman. Let's protect the racist. Absolutely ridiculous.
Y'all ain't doing shit. We busy too. We'll be there before the end of the night. And over the weekend. I can't wait for them to take Shallow money.
Her name is Shiloh. I forgot her last name. TJ, I give you first cracks at this because that really did bother me that trailer park trash calls a kid with autism a nigger and stood on business and kept doing it. But I appreciate the person with the camera who stood on business to record her ass and attempt to put her on blast on social media. But that attempt backfired into her making almost $500,000. Floor is yours, TJ.
Yeah, I'd actually never seen the video. I'd seen people talk about it. I had read a few things about it, but I didn't see the entire incident take place. And that part jumped out at me too when he said, well, we'll see what the internet has to say about this. And boy, have we. We've seen exactly what the internet has to say about this, which is that this problem is going to get worse before it gets better. I really hate to say that, but you mentioned that in the era of Trump, like I argued all through Trump's first administration, and I might still say it today. I don't know. It remains to be seen that I still would slot George W. Bush as a worse president than Donald Trump, specifically due to the deaths caused by the war on terror and the irredeemable waste of blood and treasure and the displacement of hundreds of millions of people in the Middle East. Like Trump hasn't reached that level quite yet. But the one thing that you definitely can say is that Trump's presence and his just open vitriol has emboldened the worst elements of society. In that women like this, you're right, or in the past, this would have been enough to ruin someone. But the fact that, you know what's crazy about this? She didn't need the money for anything. That's the crazy part, actually, to me, that there isn't even the pretense of, oh, she's being sued and she needs to raise money to fight these legal fees. And I'm advocating for free speech. And I may not agree with what she said, but she has the right to. No, this is just here, take my money for no reason whatsoever, other than she asked for it, saying people are being mean to me. And enough people are sympathetic to her that she's raised. You said it's almost $500,000. I saw it was like last I saw like 380,000. So yeah,
it's up to like 460 or something.
Incredible,
like
incredible. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake. Calling someone a nigger when you're white is hate speech. Hate speech is punishable by crime. Not only was she using hate speech, but she was calling a kid who was autistic a nigger. And some of y'all was trying to buffer her argument by saying, well, shouldn't she do something if he really took her shit? Okay. Did she realize that the boy had autism? Did she look for the boy's parents? Was the boy's parents around? When she got her little damn Scooby snack for her little boo-boo, crumb snatcher on her hip, was the altercation over with? You could have took your ass away instead of trying to say, using nigger as a verb to say that when someone acts a certain way, it's that of a nigger. My retort to her would be, well, what do we call white trailer park trash cracker behavior? What's the title on that? What we seeing in the White House? Is that what is that what we say it is? When we see someone like you who ass look like it stink, like you ain't took a bath in 6 days with the ugly ass tattoos, is that what we call it? Because you went there, bitch. You went there. And TJ made a great point that can be improved, TJ, but it's going to take the law. Racism had began to get tapped down between the 70s and 80s when people had to pay for their racist and heinous acts. When they had to be made to pay for it, they started tampering that shit down and keeping it a secret. When Obama won the office, some of those that were a little quiet felt like they could come out a little bit, not to this degree. But when Trump won, saying all the dastardly stuff he did, picking on the special needs folks and calling people racist right to their face, that's when people got ratcheted up. And on one hand, TJ, I can't say I blame her because you're only mirroring what the greatest example of your leadership is doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say this to you. How would you feel if that man holding that camera would have took the leadership of the president, ran up and grabbed you by the pussy?
Yeah.
How
Don't
would you
think.
feel then?
Yeah. I'd like to know her answer to that. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you see her ass, denounce her. And if there's any sisters in that community that know her, the minute she fuck up, I expect a beat down. Don't just run up on her and beat her up for nothing. Let her spit on you because that is assault. Let her call you a nigga because that's hate speech. And then I expect a beat down the same way we seen in Alabama a year ago.
Love it. Yeah. This culture that is growing out and festering, and internet culture has a lot to deal with it.
Yes.
There was a conservative influencer who basically did the same thing last year, but it wasn't quite filled with this much venom. She was just talking and she kind of dropped an N-word like in a rap lyric or something like that, And of course, people got upset. Her account got banned on TikTok, I think, and she tried to start a social media profile on this. This is the next evolution of that, and I don't see this fixing itself anytime soon. Lamont made a fantastic point that the project of ending racism, we never fully committed to it in the United States. We keep doing these half measures. Ironically, starting with the 3/5 compromise, it started right then and there, where the North is saying, "Well, we got to get this union together," and a lot of them were abolitionists or they didn't have slavery. They said the South refused to drop the slavery thing, and this is actually another thing going back to that same thing where another microaggression I have. It's not a microaggression. It's just a petty complaint, I think. But when white conservatives will say, "How dare you criticize these dead people in the past? Don't you know that the United States is the only nation that went to war to get rid of its slaves? Like, doesn't that mean anything?" Is that, well, you could look at it that way, or you could look at it like the United States was the only nation that loved slavery so much that they were forced to go to war with themselves. It cuts both ways, right? It's why they try to say, well, like 250,000 people or 500,000 people died in the Civil War to free the slaves. No, half of those folks died to free the other half died defending slavery. And just how devoid of compassion and care and love. And I wouldn't even go as far as criticizing her for criticizing the autism thing. He's a 5-year-old boy. He's a 5-year-old. Can you imagine a 5-year-old doing anything to you that would get that kind of reaction? It's a 5-year-old child. Kindergarten teachers every week are telling kids, "Hey, keep your hands to yourself. Don't take other people's stuff." And this 5-year-old takes something that doesn't belong to him, and that is her reaction. That isn't about the 5-year-old. That's about her hatred of black people. I think Liam Neeson told this story years ago, where he said that he used to harbor a lot of resentment. Sorry if it's not Liam Neeson. I wanted to smirch the guy if he didn't say this, but I just realized that. But a celebrity, I remember talking about when he said, when I was younger, I used to have this resentment toward black people. I didn't like them because when I was 12 or 13 years old, a black kid in my neighborhood stole my bike. And so I was angry at black people because of that. And then he said, but as I got older, I said, well, wait, why am I mad at black people and not mad at thieves? Why is that my immediate jump right there, that I went, oh, black people are the problem and not, oh, thieves are the problem? And that's what I got from that interaction. Her rage wasn't about the theft. It wasn't about the kid. It was about black people. And she found a way to vent that frustration.
100%. Ladies and gentlemen, post your comments. Let us know what you think. TJ's information is in the video description. Puts on an amazing TikTok show, my people. You've got to go check it out. Keep you engaged, keep you energized through the week. Go check it out as we move on to the next subject. So, TJ, what you want next? You want, because basically your grievance kind of ties into pretty much everything that I picked out this week. You got God doesn't want diversity, the GOP big lie, critical white man theory, Jasmine Crockett for president.
Let's
Which
go
one?
right down the line. Let's go with God and diversity. I'm not sure what this one is. I'm interested to hear this one.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, one problem that we are having that is just so bad in this country is that the GOP has been able to tie religion with policy when the two are supposed to be separate. And what blows people's mind is how they're able to do that when the policies that they're enacting don't have anything to do with what God would want you to do. And so in this example, we have a TikToker that I want you guys to go follow who is an atheist who watches other people's religious videos and talks about how you shouldn't be putting that into policy. And this time he ran up on a girl that actually came out of her mouth and said, God doesn't want diversity as a way to buffer her stance on diversity in America. Take a look at this.
Diversity for the sake of diversity is not a strength that we see outlined in scripture. Like, there is absolute.
Wow, a little bit of a self-own there, right? Listen, guys, okay, the Bible doesn't talk about diversity. Listen, it's not something that God requires.
Do not get into the game of acquiescing to worldly demands for so-called social justice.
The secular worldview that people deserve to be treated with justice among society. Only a heathenistic spawn of Satan would come to such a devious conclusion.
Being advancing God's kingdom by equipping students to preach the gospel, to love God and to love their neighbor, and then let them have that problem. You stick to the truth. You stick to what's right. I'm very passionate about that for churches. And
you stick to the truth and stick to what's right. You'll notice Christians do this all the time. They're probably the worst offenders of this, which is vague platitudes that don't mean anything. And if you try to apply meaning, could mean anything. Literally, we have stick to what is true and what is right. What's true? What's right? A ton of progressive ideals are based upon empiricism. That probably means it's more likely to be true. But you're against that. So you're against what's true. To these people, what is true and what is right is whatever sits right in their little tummy tum and also seems like it can vaguely be analogous to something in the Bible somewhere.
So TJ, you see how I was just complaining about rich white dudes and white people in general love to use big words and these sentences to get you twisted up. This is another example of that, my brother. Another example of that to try to win you on their side if you're not educated. You get first dibs on this because religion is your area. You've been in it, out of it, through it. You see it. Talk to me about what this woman is saying. And could a real God be against diversity?
So my answer is yes. And I this is why we talk about this religion thing all the time, that the problem is it shuts down critical thought. And not only does it shut down critical thought, but there is no mechanism by which anyone can say, my interpretation of God is the correct one. It doesn't exist. That's why people go to wars and they fight over religion all the time, because there's no solution. There's no scientific method. There's no math. There's no observable empirical data, like that guy said. So that's the problem you run across. So if someone comes out and says, God doesn't want diversity, or the God of the Bible does not preach diversity, it doesn't matter if it says it in the Bible or not. It doesn't, because you could just say, well, this verse I interpret as God doesn't want diversity. And if you think of it the other way, you're incorrect and my God is right. And toward the end, like you said, and he said that if you keep the words vague enough and say, you need to do the right thing, you need to trust what's in your heart and do what's right, which will suspiciously sound exactly like what you think God would say. So yeah, I think it is a major problem, and I'm sure you agree.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree, because it is just used by the GOP as a way to subjugate people who don't want to think critically.
Yes.
They don't want to. They want to be able to compartmentalize it as, well, if it's God's will, it's going to happen, or it's not. That's how people want to compartmentalize it. And then secondly, what bothers me about these same individuals that just give it up free of charge, as long as the Republican can throw this type of shit in there, God, guns, and country, it's okay for them. First thing I got with that is, how the fuck do you think God would feel about a gun? That's number one. Number two, if God is doing all these powerful things, why do you need a gun? If God is taking care of your life the way you say he is, you don't need a weapon at all, because God got you. And this picture right here just had me falling out laughing, because this should be the motto for Republicans. You know, we get the baby here, and the first thing we do is give their asses a gun. It's hypocrisy. It's dumb. It's a lack of wanting to think for yourself. It is, I want to be a worker bee and be told what to do, go home on the weekends, and then go to work on the weekdays and be told what to do, and believe in this voice that's going to take care of me through Trump. That's it.
It is. Like one of the more frustrating realities about the situation, that we try to have this discourse and we try to break stuff down, but at the center of this entire conversation is the fact that for a significant portion of the population, their ideal, their dream society would look something like a majority white population in which Black people, immigrants, women shut the fuck up and know their place, and everyone works backbreaking jobs, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, with no guarantee of health insurance, on the off chance one of you might make it rich, but you probably won't, so you work until you die. That's like their Shangri-La. That's what they want. And you can tell them all this stuff and how bad it is, they don't care. And I got that reminded me of a clip, if you don't mind, about what these folks are like. Now, this is a clip from a woman named Candace Taylor. Now, Candace Taylor was the chair of the Republican Party in Georgia's 1st district, I believe. Now she has a radio a program that she shares, but this is when she was running for governor, I believe. And you see in the background, it says Jesus, guns, babies. That was her campaign slogan when she ran for governor. But this is her thoughts on the separation of church and state.
That's not going to happen either. We're not making backroom deals with sheriffs. They're the highest constitutional officer in their county, and they're going to do the will of the people. I don't mind handcuffing them either. So, I mean it. I've heard from sheriff corruption all over the state. We've got some awesome sheriffs, and praise the Lord for them. Pray for them. Even if you have a corrupt one, pray for them, and pray that they're replaced really quickly if they're corrupt. But I don't care. I don't mind handcuffing any single person who breaks the law and goes against our government. The Constitution says when you commit treason, it's
You know what? I think I put the wrong clip. Sorry, my bad. Very unprofessional of me. But the clip that I was looking for, the clip I was looking for, well, at that same speech, she says that she doesn't believe in separation of church and state because they are the church and they run the state. That was the quote that I was trying to find from her. That's what the Republicans think. Yeah, that's their entire ethos, and there's no defending or arguing of this. That's just how it is.
I mean, what the fuck they think we Game of Thrones?
They do. Yeah.
Man, get out of here, man. That is why we're in the trouble we're in right now, because these people that push this God religion shit do not believe in it. And if they do, it's very loose base, because when they get in power, they do everything that goes against what God would really and truly want to happen. And it's just ironic to me that you've got clips loaded, and people, me and TJ didn't rehearse what we was going to do today. We come to this just seeing how we're feeling, surprising each other and getting our first reactions. But a lot of what I'm talking about today, ladies and gentlemen, is the eye-opener to what is going on in government. And I'll leave it there with that one. But you guys, please subscribe to TJ on TikTok. You know how to find me. And we'll go on to the next story we've got. TJ, the GOP big lie, critical white man theory, Jasmine Crockett for president.
Let's go with Jasmine Crockett for president. I haven't heard this one either. Let's go.
Okay. Well, this one's all on me. But
Okay.
I've got a clip of Jasmine talking about what's going on in the last 100 days, and there's been a rallying cry for her to run for president. So let's take a look at her breaking down Trump's last 100 days, and then we'll discuss her and the presidential run.
All right, y'all. So it's been 100 days since you know who has been officially sworn into office. And we need to do a quick recap on what he has done. And yeah, it ain't good. While the list is quite extensive, and in fact, I could actually give you more than 100 things that he has done that has been absolutely insane this entire time, we ain't got time for that. So here we go with the top 5 diabolical, disastrous, deplorable, detrimental, dumb decisions by Don. Number 1, mass deportations, including American citizens. Number 2, these ridiculous tariffs. And let me tell y'all, like even the kids know that this is dumb. And let's not forget about his bestie, Elon and Doge. The absolute destruction of checks and balances. And finally, not only cutting our federal services, but cutting our federal workforce. God bless each and every person that has dedicated so many years of service to this country as a federal worker. I see you. All right, so there you have it. Just 5 ways of this fool tearing shit up. Don't let anyone gaslight you. He's not just talking, he's doing. And we are truly watching our democracy unravel in real time. I know you're tired, and frankly, I am too. But rest can't come before resistance. I'll keep fighting with truth, with power, and with purpose. And I hope you will too.
Well, TJ, Jasmine Crockett on my channel is way, way popular.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of people that would like to see her run for president, because, and I think a lot of it has to do with she has been ferocious in the face of threats, in the face of Trump being transactional, in the face of Trump just trying to be a bully. She hasn't backed down. But I will follow that up by saying we've had AOC who hasn't backed down, and Bernie Sanders, God rest his crypt keeping soul,
Yep.
he ain't backing down.
Nope.
And because of that, I think people initially look at these individuals like, we need you to be president. The question to you is, could Jasmine Crockett win as president?
That's a difficult question to answer because I think a lot of it depends on time. I don't think she would win in the next election cycle, but I can foresee a universe in which she could, maybe 10, 12 years down the road or something like that. Because I'd like to get your opinion on this, because I think you mentioned earlier with Harris and everything that you said a lot of people wouldn't vote for a woman. They just couldn't bring themselves to do it. And I heard a lot of people mention this as the reason that Harris lost. And that's fine. Like if you want to make the assertion that this is or she couldn't have won because people weren't going to vote for a woman. But I'd always follow that up with, okay, that's part A. What is part B? What is your solution to this problem? Because if you go into an election saying, well, we did everything right, but we couldn't win because the population is too racist or too sexist. Okay, look, that might be true, but you have to follow that up by saying, therefore, our solution is we can never run a woman again. And I don't think that's the answer here. I think that there's a lot of growth and stuff with society, but I was curious of your thoughts on that. Oh, actually, you're going to answer about Jasmine Crockett too, so I guess it'll be the same thing.
First of all, she is more beloved than Kamala Harris.
Well, yeah, far more. Yeah.
Universally. She stands on far left business more than Kamala. And just those two factors alone would get her more votes than what Kamala got. Mm-hmm. Because if we talked about this last week, how it's funny how people that voted for Trump also said that they would vote for AOC and Bernie.
Insane.
When there are two juxtaposition ideologies. But why why people would vote for them? Because they are real. They are real. And Jasmine has those qualities. Here's the caveat to that. Jasmine looks more sister girl than Kamala Harris, which could possibly go against her.
Yeah.
So do I think she could win? It all depends on the candidate she would have to run against. If she had to run against Trump, no, she's not winning. She's not. She's not far left enough as AOC and Bernie are to galvanize the people that sat on their hands, wanting someone that was more to the left. One thing that I know hurt Kamala was this trying to weave in the middle shit, running around with Liz Cheney and Adam Kissinger and trying to unite the middle. That caused a lot of people to sit on their damn hands because they wanted someone to be more to the left. Now, if she runs against someone like maybe Ron DeSantis, I would give her a fighting shot.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, I don't think they can run her in this next election.
No chance.
Because we can't take the risk. Now, maybe put her on the ticket as vice president. That would help because you could get some of those individuals who sat on their hands that want someone who's a fighter. But as far as being top of the ticket, I don't think that the United States would tolerate that just yet. I just don't think they would. I love her. That's my girl.
Mm-hmm.
I love her standing on business. But at the same time, Dems, we got to be honest that it's just not us, the minorities, making votes. It's a group of other people that we've got to come to the voting block and cast their vote. If this thing is real, because a lot of people, TJ, think that Elon Musk and the tech bros did some finagling with different things to make this election go Trump's way. And I always say to people, if that's the conspiracy, you got a lot of people that's sitting on a secret that could ruin Trump and the administration. And that stuff would definitely be coming to light.
Oh, so yeah, I feel the same way. I've seen a lot of people. I don't want to take it off course with the Jasmine Crockett thing.
Go ahead.
But ever since Trump won, I've seen, I would say, an alarming number of people who think that Elon Musk used Starlink to steal the election because of, stuff he said. Like Joe Rogan said, I was sitting with Elon Musk, and he said, Trump's got it won like 2 hours before it was called. Or Trump's said that Elon predicted that he would win Pennsylvania right before he won Pennsylvania. And they said, this is it. I say, okay, folks, that is not evidence. I'm sorry. That is the best you got. Or if Elon Musk stole the election, present some evidence that he did, because there's insinuations and there's theories. Like they put together this huge conspiracy to steal 7 states, and then now we're going to drop the clues that we committed this massive fraud. I don't buy it. I just don't at all. It seems like a bunch of cope to me. And I expected better of you guys, really. I mean, this is what we shit on Trump supporters for doing the past 4 years. And now you're falling right into it. But yeah, I agree. I don't think even if the populace say Trump keeps shitting the bed for the next 4 years, which it looks like he's going to, and the Republican Party is at its lowest percentage of popularity ever. Even if the population would accept any Democrat, there's no chance in hell the Democratic Party is running 3 women in a row. Not happening. No. It is just, they will not let that happen. Hell, it wouldn't even have happened this time if Biden didn't, his brain didn't melt on stage. So yeah, I agree. I don't think that there's any chance of it happening soon, but I don't think that it's out of the question that a candidate like her could win. I don't.
There's only one woman that continuously posed well to beat any man that the Republicans can put up, and her name is Michelle Obama, and she's adamant that she's not running. She hates politics. She is just adamant she's not coming out. She's not running. No matter how far this country goes into the cliff, no matter how much we need her ass, she says she's not doing it. That's the only woman that posed good enough to seem like they could beat a Trump or a Republican male. Only one.
Yeah, that's weird that people keep asking her this. She's been saying this since 2016. No, I have no interest in running for president. And I don't, honestly, I think this always happens with people who have name recognition and people want them to run. Before they run, their numbers are sky high. But once they start running, once they start getting on stage and presenting a platform, they always take a dip. Now, perhaps she could win on popularity alone. And, people generally like Michelle Obama that aren't right-wing, insane nut jobs. But yeah, it's funny that this poll keeps coming out and say, hey, you want to run? But folks, she's not going to do it. I want you to keep asking her.
No, she's done, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to continue to get more from me and TJ, please subscribe. His link is in description. He puts on an amazing TikTok show. He's got over 200 and something thousand people on TikTok. He's the man over there. Go give his brother
Shucks.
follow the brother, ladies and gentlemen.
I appreciate it,
He
Lamont.
good work. He do great work. All right.
Hey,
go ahead, brother.
Before we move on, I just thought of something. When you were saying that, I forgot what you said exactly, that people like the fact that Trump is, just rude and incorrigible, and it made them support him and everything. Did you see that clip with Van Jones talking to those 3 black Trump supporters?
TJ, it's a YouTube short on my channel, and it's very popular. Yes.
That is the. So for those of you who don't know what we're talking, actually, I can pull it up. Hold on. Let me see.
Pull it up.
Yeah, because Van Jones went and talked to three black people.
South Carolina black MAGA, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. My brother got it. This is so delusional, people. If you just ate, close your mouth, because I don't want to see food flying out.
You had to do it all over again. Would you vote for Donald Trump again? Yes or no?
Yes, I would. Now, in the future, I am not a diehard Democrat or diehard Republican. If there were a Democratic candidate who was more aligned for me, then I would vote Democrat.
If you go back in time, would you vote for Donald Trump? Yes or no?
Yes.
I think I might know the answer on this next one.
She said yes. It's immediately yes. No, I'm sorry.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump? Yes or no?
1,000% absolutely yes.
These folks, I don't understand. I like seeing like 3 black Trump supporters sitting around the table. I saw a longer clip. I don't know if it was one you saw where he asked the guy, "Hey, what was it that made you vote for Trump?" And he said, I like that he was an asshole. I like it. I love that. And I may not agree with everything he does, but I love that he's a prick all the time. And this, watching that one, it made me incredibly sad. I hate seeing that. I hate seeing that, whenever anyone, but especially black people, sell out to a movement that exists like primarily to be antagonistic to the needs and desires and the plight of black people. But seeing him do that, it reminded me of a conversation I heard on the radio back in 2016, and it was 2017, right after Trump got elected. And I heard the news reporter talking to this older couple. I think they were in their 60s or something like that. And they asked them, "Oh, so how did you vote before? Like, you voted for Trump?" So yes. Well, did you vote for Obama? They said, "Yes, we voted for Bush both times. Then we voted for Obama both times, and then we voted for Trump." And I listened to that and I said, "How does this person exist? How is this possible?" And I think we talked about last time that the unfortunate reality is a lot of people do vote like that. They vote on vibes. They don't vote on policy at all. It is just like a vacuous, just cavern in their head. And oh, look, Trump, he's funny and he's loud and he's obnoxious. And look at Elon, he builds rocket ships. I got to support this guy. That we got our work cut out for us with folks like that. It's kind of sad.
TJ, all the work is in the schools. All the work we have to do is reinforcing the real truth of this nation in the schools, in civics, in history, in finance, and money. That's where the Democrats got to play the long game that the Republicans have been playing since Reconstruction.
Yes, yeah.
Since they gave Texas Instruments contracts for not just calculator equipment, but making books. Someone has got to get in there and put the real education of this country and what its parties stand for and what its parties has passed as legislation and how that legislation benefits who. That's the long game for the Democrats. Now, as much as I am that we need to do education, there are a whole lot of other things we've got to shore up on top of that. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Right.
But one piece of the long game is this fight for education, which brings us to the next subject. I'm going to go ahead and just pick this one, TJ.
All right.
It is education.
All right.
And it is what I'm dubbing as critical white man education. And TJ, one of the people I hate the most with Trump is Stephen Miller. He graduated Duke, which is where my wife works at. There's people who knew him when he was in high school, talked about how he used to pick on the black people and the black janitors.
Shocking.
He was head of some white group in high school. And I always want to know, why is it that he think it's cool to be younger than me and you, and this look
Oh
is
my
supposed to be
God.
cute?
Look at that. Oh, Jesus. Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
You ain't no fucking Jason Statham.
No, man. No.
No. So TJ, take a look at this as they want to really and truly whitewash education, even worse than what it was when me and you was in school, where we had to stand up and salute the flag. And some cases they made you pray in school too, which is all propaganda to submit you to the will of the GOP. Take a look at this. Real education coming up.
This administration is also fighting to get critical race theory out of our school districts. Children will be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding. So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states, we are going to make sure that these funds are not being used to promote communist ideology. For any nation to be successful, it cannot teach its children to hate themselves and to hate their country. So these are a few of the areas in which President Trump has fought the cancerous, communist, woke culture that was destroying this country, where we were led to believe that men were women, that women were men, that racial discrimination was good, that merit was bad, and that safety and physical security mattered less than the feelings of liberal ideology.
When I was in school, we mostly learned the great man theory of history, which teaches that history is made by great men doing great things. However, what I really learned could be called the great white man theory of history, because it was mostly about white men doing great things. And it was only later that I realized when we learned about these great white men, we only focused on their accomplishments and positive attributes, and never once explored their racism or connection to white supremacy. For example, in school we learned that George Washington was a hero who led the Continental Army to victory over the British during the American Revolutionary War. We learned that he was the first American president, and he set a great example of how to be a democratic ruler instead of a king. But we never focused on the fact that he owned hundreds of enslaved African Americans during his lifetime, or that he received his first slave at the age of 10. We never talked about how when Washington needed new teeth, they made his dentures by pulling teeth out of the mouths of enslaved people he owned. We never focused on the fact that when one of Washington's slaves ran away, like Harry Washington in 1781 or Ona Judge in 1796, he was obsessed with capturing them and returning them back to a life of slavery. When we learned about Abraham Lincoln, it was always about how he was one of the greatest presidents in U.S. history, and how he was a hero for freeing the slaves during the Civil War. What we never discussed is the fact that he held many racist and white supremacist views. We read the Gettysburg Address, but we didn't read his 1858 debate with Stephen Douglas. In that debate, he said, "I am not, nor ever have been, in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races. I have never seen, to my knowledge, a man, woman, or child who was in favor of producing a perfect equality, social and political, between Negroes and white men. I am not, nor ever have been, in favor of making voters or jurors of Negroes, nor of qualifying them to hold office, nor to intermarry with white people. And I will say, in addition to this, that there is a physical difference between the white and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the two races living together on terms of social and political equality. While they do remain together, there must be a position of superior and inferior, and I, as much as any other man, am in favor of having the superior position assigned to the white race."
TJ, I knew you would like that one because you are a Abraham Lincoln historian. Well, me too. I knew it. We riffed on this before.
Yeah.
But basically, they're not teaching the real history of the schools as it is. They are not giving the real history that people need to know right now. And where Stephen Miller wants to take us is going to be even worse. In his little speech, he was trying to make the argument that understanding about slavery is bad, understanding about people having different backgrounds is bad, and that the only way you can really and truly love this country is as you submit to its love. What the hell happened to, as you go through the experience of the country, you fall in love with it? What the hell happens to you earn the love that you get from a country, not just give it? And having said those things, TJ, I give you the floor first.
Yeah, it's really chilling to hear that stuff, because what Stephen Miller was saying was always implicit in American education. It was always implicit, but the fact that they're confident enough to make it explicit is kind of terrifying, because, like you mentioned, the saluting the flag and pledging allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. By the way, I do like in the pledge that you pledge allegiance to the flag first and the country second. I always thought that was odd. Like, you think it'd be in the reverse order, but that's not a normal thing in other countries, where children, 6, 7-year-olds, offer oaths of fealty to the state every morning before school starts. That is bizarre shit. If you saw other nations, go ahead.
We've seen that during Hitler's time.
Yep. That's
that's one of the most documented times we've seen fealty pledged to a nation. I'm sorry to break in. Just wanted to throw that in there to buffer your argument.
Yeah. It is nightmarish stuff, and it's so commonly practiced and expected that when you bring it up, hey, isn't it weird that we have loyalty oaths said by people in their single digits who don't know what the hell they're talking about? And they said, no, what's wrong with you? This is good. This is patriotic. Because patriotism essentially just means, to these folks at least, that you treat the United States like you're the parent of a shitty kid. Like, let's say, you ever known a parent who has a kid who's a troublemaker, who's acting up, and the kid is not paying attention to school, the kid's a bully, the kid's a petty criminal, and you talk to the parent and say, oh no, not my Jimmy. My Jimmy's great. My Jimmy's fantastic. How dare you criticize my Jimmy? That's how they treat the United States of America. It's like, oh, what? Lincoln said this? Why? No, not George, not Georgie. He wouldn't do something like that. And the fact that they want this more than it already is. I've said this for a long time, that going through the American education system and being taught our history, it essentially guarantees you will be a conservative. Like, it exists to tell you that the United States of America holds a special place, not a unique place, because every country is unique. No, it is special. It is better. It's American supremacy. We deserve everything. When we landed, however we landed in the country, it was manifest destiny for that. It was the right thing to do for us to go from sea to shining sea and kicking the ass of anybody in our way. So the fact that he wants to pour it on even more, it's not good enough, because what people get wrong here, this is where the miscommunication happens when it comes to this topic, is that what that guy was saying, what Lamont and I are saying, is teach history as it is. Don't shield people from the truth. And they say, well, you're trying to say that George Washington and Abe Lincoln were evil men and they did nothing commendable. No one said that. Like, that is not what we're saying at all. It's like, nobody is 100% evil or 100% good. That person does not exist. This is why I always fight against this narrative that we worship or we adore or lionize anybody from the past, because once you say that, anybody can come along and correctly point out something bad that they did. No, it is actions, it is beliefs, it is it's thoughts, and it's goals. Those are what we laud. Like I say, if you we can say a lot of bad things about anybody, but this thing they did right here, I respect that. That means a lot to me. Whether he was a good person or not, I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter. That action is what I'm talking about. But that's not what Stephen Miller wants. That's not what Trump wants. Not what Republicans want. They want to put this mythology that the United States is this pristine, shining city on the hill, and you're a communist, as if these folks, they couldn't define communists to save their mother's life. But they throw it out there that any criticism, not even criticism, any accurate depiction of the past is anti-American. And it's absurd, but it's been a long time coming. They've been working with us for a long time.
That's why I say Democrats have to play the long game.
Yes.
Teach the unabridged history of the country and let the children pick their side. The Republicans and white men don't want no part of that. And TJ, why do they not want any part of it? Because I was always taught by these same hypocritical white men that the truth shall set you free and that there is never a bad time for the truth. Be like Captain America and Superman and tell the truth. TJ, why would these white guys not want the full truth of how this country was started?
Because it upsets their perceived status or earned status in authority. That if it's a similar problem that the founders ran into when they first started the nation, where they weren't respected like European aristocracy. If you lived if you lived in the middle of England and you're a peasant or whatever, and you're slaving away and stuff, and the Lord comes along and you're like, well, why do you own all this? So, well, this land has been in my family for 500 years. The king gave it to my ancestor. And I got, all right. I mean, it's bullshit, but I can see why that worked, right? I was like, okay, I got it. That kind of makes sense. George Washington, you've been here 10 minutes. What gives you more power and more authority over anybody else here? You just happen to have all the land. And if this chain continued down through history, so the people who are in positions of this is why conservatives tend to be straight white men. Like that is the biggest demographic, and it always will be, because that position, that group has historically had more power than anyone else. And when you have more power than anyone else, you are in no hurry to upset the system or change it, because there's a great chance you don't benefit from it while other people do. And so the more you make it look like, yes, I've attained this status, this position, this money, this wealth, this power, this influence by the virtues of my own merit. So any questioning about how I got here or how we got here is not just an attack on the past, it's an attack on me. And they don't want that. I think that's why they want to hide the truth.
That's the biggest part of it. But the other part is that they know when you put this into the minds of people who are forming their belief systems, the average young person leans toward feeling sorry for someone that has been hurt.
Yeah.
The average young person believes in doing good versus what seems to be evil. And if young people really knew, as I said earlier, the country was stolen from two people, and you just hit on one point, they stole it from the Queen because the Queen looked at the founding fathers as basically trailer park trash. That's why they came here and decided, oh, we're not giving this shit to the king and the queen. Oh, no. We're going to keep this for ourselves, because they were inferior to the people that already had the establishment going overseas. And they got here and said, we're going to keep this for ourselves, and started in a way that seems equitable for everybody, but it's only equitable for us white guys who are here to start it. And so, Dems, as you make this grand plan, it has got to start with education of history, the financial system as of the last 20 years and how they pilloried that, and thinking critically. Make people challenge when someone tells them something that sounds crazy. Another thing Republicans love to do, they want you to be on that military shit. If I say do it, don't ask questions. They love that.
They do.
They love it. Challenge people by asking critical questions. And from there, I'm going to say, please subscribe to my boy TJ's TikTok. He does good work. And we're going to move on to the last thing that, this one's going to really make me so mad, because we could go several places when we talk about the big lie of the GOP, TJ. We could. There's several of them.
Yeah.
But the main one that I'm focusing on, because I've been in these rooms, I've dealt with Anglos, I've dealt with poor Anglos. I've dealt with them. And the one big lie the GOP has been able to sell them since the 70s is that if you vote for them, your taxes are going to get cheaper at some point in time. And ladies and gentlemen, it's not true. The GOP loves to call somebody else a damn socialist when all the rich people that vote for the GOP like to socialize the government for their money, but want you to pay for the bill. And I'll jump right into that after we take a look at this shit right here, the big lie of the GOP.
Trump posted another weird lie about tariffs. On Truth Social, he wrote, quote, "When tariffs cut in, many people's income taxes will be substantially reduced, maybe even completely eliminated." Okay, there is so much wrong with that. First, U.S. tariffs are themselves taxes on Americans. They're effectively an extra sales tax paid by you. Second, if Congress tried to replace income taxes with tariffs, as Trump has proposed, lower income Americans would be hurt the most. That's because tariffs and sales taxes are regressive, meaning they take a larger percentage from the incomes of working Americans than from the rich. Let's say you make $15 an hour and you somehow spend only $80 a week on groceries. If Trump's tariffs raise your grocery bill by 10%, that extra $8 costs you more than a half an hour of your labor every week. Meanwhile, someone earning $1 million a year makes more than that in 1 minute. And Elon Musk's wealth grows more than 10 times that much every second. The tariffs cost you more than they cost Elon Musk. But replacing income taxes would require far higher tariffs than Trump's even proposed so far. Tariffs of at least 100% on all imports, according to multiple analyses. Now that $80 on groceries could suddenly cost you $160 a week. If you make $15 an hour, you'd be paying more than double what you used to pay in income taxes just on grocery tariffs. And that's not even factoring in the extra tariffs you'd be paying on clothes, appliances, electronics, and everything else. But millionaires, and especially billionaires, would be paying way, way less. It would be a massive tax increase on you to pay for a massive tax cut for the super rich.
I'm going to take this one first, CJ.
All right.
This one burns me to no end. And this is another example of how people aren't intellectually or critically thinking intelligent. And I'm really talking to those who are not in the 1% or even the 10%, those who are below. You vote for these fucking Republicans who tell you, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Don't take handouts. Don't do none of that. And we're going to help lower your taxes. They say that, and it's another one of the themes of this video we've done, blanket statements that can mean anything. Yes, they're trying to lower taxes, but they're not trying to lower taxes on the average person. They are trying to lower the taxes on the wealthiest people among us and make your dumbasses pay for it. Your dumbasses, and you eat it up like a spoon and vote for it every single time, and you use taxes that you see coming out of your paycheck as fuel to vote for Republicans, when as your dumbasses were smart enough, you would know that you're supposed to go in there and fix your paycheck so that your withholdings don't cost you a lot of money coming out of the paycheck. But you're not smart enough to understand that. And you just vote for these clowns who suck on the teat of the government while they're telling you not to do it. Elon Musk is one of the biggest welfare queens, socialists, because he's socializing your tax dollars and using it for his own damn gain, but don't want you to do it. The Koch brothers, another one, who go into these communities, get all these damn tax breaks, offer your money, and then tell you to vote for them. They're going to lower taxes, but they're not going to lower it for you. And I could go on and on and on about how the small business is the backbone of business in every community, but you guys never get shit from the government because you keep voting for these rich guys that gobble up all of the social capital that you should be getting because you are too silly to vote for Democrats. You're too silly to vote for that. It would hurt. It would break your finger if you voted for what's gonna help you. My message to you people, start researching these bills that the Republicans put out that are not trying to help the average person. Biggest example of this that we're looking at right now is tariffs. Trump told y'all he was going to do this tariff thing.
He did.
He told you. He told you he was going to do it. And y'all not being critical thinkers, not wanting to research, didn't believe that you was going to be paying this tax. You thought somehow magically China, Mexico, and Canada and all these other places was going to pay for it. And now you truck drivers, 90% of y'all that voted for Trump, asses is sitting with empty trucks because the port's not coming here because of these tariffs. You're sitting there. And economists taught me that one way to know what's getting ready to come in the economy is what's going on with truck drivers. And if truck drivers aren't moving shit, something bad is about to happen to the economy. Republicans are going to always try to enrich their rich buddies, find a way to make you, the average person, pay for the taxes to subsidize the money that they want to give to their rich donors and their rich buddies. And you guys keep falling for the banana in the tailpipe every single year instead of trying and voting for people who want to put safety guardrails in place, who want to put a more of a socialized system in place so that all that money that you're paying to socialize the rich, you can socialize your damn self. Floor is yours, TJ.
Couldn't agree more with everything you said there, Lamont. And what the frustrating part about this is there are two categories when it comes to conservative Republicans. There are deceivers and there are the deceived. There is no third option. That is it. You can be one or you can be both. A lot of them are both, but there's no chance that you're neither one of them. And and so Lamont talking about the fact that obviously your average Republican is not rich, let alone obscenely rich. That is a very small percentage of them, but they parrot the talking points of the rich every fucking time. I think last episode we mentioned, how many times have you talked to a conservative making $45,000 a year and they're deathly afraid of the estate tax? They say, wow, I'm going to work my whole life and I'm going to leave a few $1,000s in a house to my kids and the government's going to take a big wet bite out of it. No, they're not. But you can't convince them of that. You can't, because they've heard rich Republicans complain about this because it would affect them. They have estates worth $40 million. Yes, the government's going to take a bite out of that. And they should, by the way. Anyway, there are no good arguments against estate tax on wealthy estates. None whatsoever. Because, do you want an aristocracy? Because if you get rid of the estate tax, you're going to create a de facto aristocracy. But this is like, I was going to say a bad habit. I think it is absolutely, accurate. But Republicans have, I can't remember the guy said this, they have a human capital problem. The MAGA movement specifically, in that a lot of the folks there just aren't that bright. They're just not. They're not. A lot of times they'll talk to folks like Lamont and I, and they'll say, well, why are you being so condescending? Why are you talking to us like we're children? Buddy, you don't give me a choice. I have no listening to you guys talk. You have no idea how anything works. You're profoundly uninterested in figuring out how they work. You don't know anything about science, about economics, about history, basic goddamn math. There's nothing there. So coming at them with everything that Lamont said, which is true, that this movement exists for essentially the sole purpose of fleecing as much money from the bottom to the top as they possibly can, while making you upset about ancillary issues that don't affect you at all. People in Minnesota voting because they're worried about the southern border. People who've never met a trans person in their life. There's no trans person in their county saying, wow, I got to make sure that these trans folks aren't winning swimming events. It's just insane. And you talk to them like, this doesn't help you. And which, saying you're stupid, by the way, is the generous interpretation. That is me being nice. Like, that is the best case scenario, that you're as dumb as you sound. Because if you're not acting out of stupidity, you're acting out of malice, which I'm afraid is a lot worse. And this is a problem so you guys ever wonder why you look at other developed nations and they have such a strong safety net compared to us? You go anywhere, you travel any first world country, you're going to have universal health care. You're going to have strong social welfare systems that just don't exist here. For as often as people complain that everyone is like, poor people are sucking money from the government, travel somewhere else sometime. We have nothing here. If you're poor, you're fucked here in this country. The primary reason we have that, or that we have it this way and Europe has something different, is because of race relations. That's it. I mean, that's really it. If you look at what the United States looked like in the Gilded Age, which Trump is trying to take us back to, oddly enough, where you had people slowly started figuring out, oh, I'm working 6-hour weeks, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, and in horrible conditions. All of my kids, down to my 7-year-old, are being forced to work in a factory in a mine somewhere. I get no weekend. I get no time off. And I have a lot more in common with all these workers here, regardless of where they're from, what their skin color is. We have a lot more. And that's when the labor movement started building up.
Right.
And suspiciously, this is right around the time that ethnic minorities like Irish or Italian, who had never been considered white before, now they are. Hey, folks, I got a deal for you. The problem isn't the fact that these bosses are treating you like garbage. The problem is the black people who are taking all the jobs. And we can't do things like that Europe starts to do, within a few decades of offering universal health care. That might be great for you, but the black people are going to take it. But you don't want that, do you? And that's the beating heart of this movement, that they don't want any marginalized, disenfranchised group to have anything good. And if they suffer, that is a small price to pay, because the spite is what carries them.
Well, you people that are that dumb and spiteful, keep voting for MAGA. Eventually, you're going to get flushed out. You will. You will get flushed out. TJ mentioned something that if we had the time, I could riff on this too. Not only are you all succumbing to the upfront stuff that Trump is doing to you by not being smart enough to know that a tariff is a tax on you, he's dropping these regulations that harm you too.
Yes.
They just dropped regulations on the poultry industry because one of the biggest donors to his fucking inauguration was a poultry manufacturer. And y'all ready to start seeing your families and your friends get salmonella? Y'all ready to start seeing that?
Yes, they are. That's the part that's insane to me, right? They are. They will take the salmonella. They will die of dysentery. They will catch measles. They'll do all the shit. It doesn't matter. And I think a lot of it ties into, this is just my half-baked thing. Actually, no, it's like conservatives are obsessed with social hierarchies. Like it's conservatism doesn't work without it. So the rich people who are in power have either gotten there by one of two means. Either God has chosen them for it, or they are smarter and harder working than everyone else. Either way, they deserve their status in life. They deserve their place. And a lot of them will say, a lot of us describe conservatives as temporarily embarrassed millionaires. All of them aren't that way. Some of them know they're never going to be rich, but this is their lot in life. And if they suffer, they suffer. And it's fine. Like that, but they want to make sure other people under them suffer even more. It's not so much about them escalating their mobility. The tariffs are a great example. They couldn't have defined a tariff last year. They can't define it now. And they're going to suffer from it. And yeah, a lot of folks are going to be mad at Trump. I predict that folks are going to be, his cult isn't leaving him, but a lot of Americans are going to say, oh, this Trump guy is bad. But it's going to be kind of like when people turned on George W. Bush. They said, oh, Bush is actually bankrupting the nation and killing people unnecessarily. That they didn't turn to the right answer. They did. They said, oh, Bush is bad. This is a particular problem with Bush, not my entire ideology that's based on nationalism and racism. They never turned from that, and they're not going to turn from it now. Trump's going to crush the country, and few people turn their back on him, but they're going to be like this for the rest of life. Past a certain age, you're just not going to change. You're just not going to change. It's probably like 40 or 50 or something, where that is who you are. And if you're an acerbic bigot, you're going to stay one for the next 40 years. It's sad, but what do you think?
Some people will change depending upon the severity of how it impacts their life. I've seen a lot of bigots who become grandparents to mixed children.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they can understand the plight. I've seen people who don't want to have anything to do with the gay LGBTQ plus community find out that their daughter is lesbian now, and now all of a sudden they understand the plight and are willing to vote for the rights of the LGBTQ plus community. And unfortunately, when you start talking about something like finances, which is cutting these people right now, for some reason that doesn't register to their brains the way that something with a family member would register to their brain. But they can change, but it's got to be something visceral and in their face that causes them to make the change to start voting for their interests.
Yeah, am I being too harsh on them? I don't think I am, because when this happens, because you're completely right, where you'll see this with a lot of Republican politicians. This applies to. They're stridently anti-queer. Oh my God, my kid is gay. I like gay people now. Really? That's it. Like this. You didn't logic your way into this at all. It wasn't until something affected you that you decided to change your mind on this, which makes me question your integrity, and your intelligence. I have to do both. And this happens. It's so frustrating, because why would I trust your judgment moving forward? Like, these folks who are mad, they say, oh, they're government workers, shocked that Trump fired them, surprised. These government workers who voted for Trump and said, I didn't know I was going to be fired by Trump. And then this, I don't like Trump now. You won't see any of these folks saying, I changed my mind about Trump because what he did to those people. Trump is being cruel and taking the rights away of immigrants. I changed my mind. No, it has to be something about them. And look, that's the way it is, and I hate it. But it's I don't know. My brain works better than yours, folks. Like that, the people right there, it just does. I don't know what to tell you.
No, I mean, and there is fair criticism to be laid on those people, harsh criticisms, because the very things that parents teach their children, learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to go through those mistakes, are exactly what me and you are arguing for. You shouldn't have to feel what another group of people, marginalized people, or anyone for that matter, is feeling in order to understand that it's harmful.
Yes.
You shouldn't.
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
That's right. Like empathetic reciprocity is the foundation of civilization. It doesn't work without it. If you are incapable of understanding that other people have feelings, emotions, and needs too, what are you doing here? That's why, and honestly, that's why I say the conservative movement is essentially performative sociopathy. That's it. I care about me, maybe my family members, and that's it. I don't give a fuck about anybody else. Like, I don't know. The thinking is really bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get out, go ahead, TJ.
Oh, you have a hard out? I wanted to talk about something.
No, that's not a hard out. I was about to clarify something that we see a lot from right wing pundits.
Mm-hmm.
I always say this is the type of shit newbies to political talk love to throw in your face.
Oh, here we go.
It's a few of them. I'll give you two examples of them. Number one, they always talk about, well, it was the Republicans that freed the slaves. We covered that last week, TJ, so we're not going to go back to that. We're not going to go back to that.
All right.
Here's another one that they love to throw in your face. Well, America's not a democracy.
Oh my God. Wow.
And so for my people that want the textbook definition, I've given it to you the way I understand it, which is basically the same. Here's the textbook definition. The next time you run across one of these Charlie Kirks that think their asses is so smart that they throw this shit at you, and it just highlights how dumb they are, how they're grasping for straws. America is both a republic and a representative democracy. Republic equals elected leaders, rule of law, and constitutional governance. Representative democracy, ladies and gentlemen, citizens vote for leaders who make decisions on their behalf. That's it. It's both, ladies and gentlemen. Stop letting these people corrupt your mind and trying to get you sideswipe on things that have really no real relevance, because they can't challenge you with real facts of which party does the best to feel the feel for everybody.
Oh God, it's one of the most lazy and disingenuous arguments out there. Not only because it's inaccurate and creating a distinction where none really exists, but it's not honest, because when they bring this up, they only bring it up one time or maybe two. They bring it up either in the Senate, but usually for the presidential election against the Electoral College. That is when they bring it up. And what they say is, listen, we are a republic, so it's okay that the Electoral College is a confusing, undemocratic mess, because, we aren't an actual democracy, because a democracy is mob rule. And what what they are saying is that they're trying to paint a picture that doesn't exist, in which a pure democracy, which I don't think has ever even existed. Like a pure democracy has never existed. Never in human history.
Never.
Yes. And
even kingdoms wasn't pure. It's never.
Yeah. Like
Never.
like the earliest forms of democracy would have been like ancient Athens or whatever. And they had Republican governance too. Because listen, it is not possible to run a society where you vote on every decision. Impossible. No, people have to work. They got shit to do. You be voting all day. So to counteract that problem, let's choose someone to vote in our place. It makes sense, of course. So when they say it's not a democracy, all right, we know that. And by the way, this is what gets me the most about it, is they say that we can't elect the president through a democratic election because that'd be unfair, although every other election works that way. No one says that the election for governor is unfair because we don't have electoral colleges within the states. It's a pure...
Or Senate, or House.
Every other election, right? Like literally every other one. So are we not a republic because those aren't electoral college votes? And also, let's say we got rid of the electoral college. Let's say we got rid of it, and we should, but let's say we got rid of it and Yes, and we elected the president through democratic means. I got news for you. We would still be a democratic republic. We would still be one. If the president wasn't elected and the president was appointed, we'd still be a democratic republic. Like this, there's no way to say that this isn't the case. And they always do this fucking shit. And they always argue against democracy itself because they hate democracy.
Thank you.
They hate it. They will accurately. This is the one thing they say that's correct, is that the founders didn't like democracy. That's true. They're correct. The founders didn't like democracy. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if the founders didn't like democracy. The founders didn't want. They at the time, voting was reserved for not just white men, but landed white men that had wealth enough to buy land. Those are the only people who could vote. They could never dream of the fact that every American citizen over 18 could vote. That blow their minds. Yeah, but I don't care. Like I don't care that's what the founders' intent is irrelevant to me. Is this a good idea or not? But that's what they revert to all the time. It is. Sorry, but that is one of my. Oh God damn, is that annoying? Yeah.
Oh my God, man! It's so that's
stupid.
what I was, bro. When we first started this conversation, I brought up to you shit that I hear from, talk radio show hosts, GOP.
Yep.
And now it's morphed more into these social media folks. This is the type of stuff that they throw at you, man, because they have no real factual substance to stand on. I mean, here's one, like they talk about how Trump is deporting these people unlawfully, most of them, because he's not giving them due process. But they don't want to mention that at this same point in time, Biden had lawfully deported more people.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it lawfully. Everybody got due process, and some of those people didn't even get deported because of the due process. Put that in your pipe, Republicans, and smoke it. What you got for us, TJ? I saw you had a stack of stuff over there.
Oh boy. Okay, so I wanted to end a little. I want to say it's lighthearted, but it's not, because it's going to raise your blood pressure, but it raised mine.
Oh God.
All right, so it's not political, but it does fall into the realm of education. And I thought of this when you had brought this up, that we have a severe lack of critical thinking in this country, and it is. If we don't get this shit under control, it's going to collapse. Like, this society cannot work with people who can't think. It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Did you happen to see any clips from Mark Lamont Hill talking on Joe Budden's podcast? Well, about
I heard it was a heated debate, him debating like flat earthers or something like that.
Yeah. So. Oh boy. Okay.
Oh,
this
boy.
is.
Oh
man.
Lord.
Oh God.
Oh,
all right. So this
God.
is Mark Lamont Hill, and he's talking with a few people, Ish and some other guy in there on Joe Budden's podcast. But here, let's go at it.
So you don't believe like the people who left the earth and looked down at it? Oh hell no. Hell no, we don't believe that.
Why we always get the same picture?
It's the same thing.
That is a small segment of that exchange in which Mark Lamont Hill has to rehash 7th grade science with these guys, and they're getting offended, they're getting mad, they're getting insulted that he's talking down to him. But how could you not? How could you not? And I saw this, and I have a postulation here. I have an idea that I want to get your opinion on. I am calling for an intervention on all barbershops. All barbershops. we need to stop this shit dead in its fucking tracks, man. I am gonna run for a platform where every goddamn barbershop in the nation is gonna have a state, county, local high school appointed representative to squash this conspiracy bullshit right away. Because I've had this happen to me. In fact, I'll find a clip and say, I've had this happen to me. And the look on Mark Lamont Hill's face the entire time, I had the same fucking look. I ran across two flat earthers in the same room, and they're at a barbershop, and I was debating with them over, once again, like rudimentary levels of science and how they like to appeal to the wisdom of the ancients. Folks, the ancients knew the earth was round. This is not new information. We've known this, like Mark Lamont Hill said, thousands of years. You can find the records. You can find the records of Eratosthenes and read how he figured out the earth was round and how you could test it yourself. You don't need to take my word for it. You can check the fact that the moon is upside down in Australia. Like, if you go to Australia and look at the moon, you look at a video of the moon, you look at a movie, it's always going to be upside down. There's no conspiracy around that. But the fact that we have like so many people who are not just non-intellectual, anti-intellectual, where everyone thinks that their opinions are equally valid. That's the problem. They say, oh, well, I think this, and you say something else. You may have all the facts on your side, but I have my truth, and that's what matters. The fucking arrogance and the dismissive nature, the dismissive way people try to dance around obvious reality. I mean, this is why we have folks like Trump, because folks aren't interested in learning. Well, it's not so much learning, because people actually love learning. Even the dumbest person you know is curious about something, but they don't know how to use it. No one taught them how to wield this weapon properly. And you get folks like this who are asking, well, how come we always see the same picture of the earth? What kind of fucking question even is that? I don't know, but have you ever run across this?
Oh my God. I have a name for black men that do this. I call it being on that D knowledge, that next level knowledge that we don't know about. That basically it means dumb knowledge.
Oh,
That's
dumb
what I'm
knowledge.
saying.
Oh, yeah.
Dumb knowledge. Because you meet these black dudes that think that their brain is clicking on such a level that we ain't reached yet, when you're really just dumb as fuck. I'll give you some examples of people who do this. Cam Newton, he's a D knowledge type of guy.
Yeah.
He thinks he's expanding on shit. Any black man that voted for Trump, and I guarantee you, them fuckers that we just seen,
100%, 100%.
And we have these kind of conversations in my barbershop. And my barber is like a hood, smart, curious, scientific believer.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's hood, but he watches the Animal Channel. He watches the NASA Channel. He thinks really with critical thought and curiosity. He's not on this alternative facts that Kellyanne Conway coined, where it's like your interpretation of something that's not a fact. We now have to have a discussion about it, because for you it's a fact when it's really not. And that's the whole problem with the country. We're now at a position where the Republicans get to set the narrative on stupid shit that was never discussed, because it was always known to be fake.
Yes.
And that's another issue that I was going to say for the next time we discuss, that the Democrats have got to control. You have got to stop letting the Republicans set the narrative for issues that aren't issues, because we have to respect the opinion of shit that we know is false, because these dumbasses believe it. No, go back to shaming their dumbasses.
Yes.
Go back to telling them to get a fucking education. Go back to telling them they need to know that 1 + 1 = 2. Go back to telling them that when Trump gets regulation off banks, what happens is you're going to be paying more in fees to the bank. And that's not smart. It's not bright. First of all, your vote wasn't bright, but it's not bright for that party to continue, for our party, Democratic Party anyway, to continue to let these people corrupt conversations with shit that is not fact. And we actually have to have a conversation about it.
Yes, I cannot agree more. One of the most poisonous axioms that is just pervasive in society is the idea that you have to respect people's opinions. No, the fuck you don't. Right? You don't have to respect anyone's opinion on anything. Opinions do not deserve respect. People deserve respect. All right. You can respect an individual as a human being. Of course, we all deserve respect as human beings, but your thoughts and your ideas and your opinions, your beliefs, those have to earn my respect. Okay. And I have no problem telling folks that. It's like, no, listen, I respect you as a person. I don't respect that belief. And like calling people out and look, be rude if you have to. I don't care, because like this smiley faced, ingratiating manner in which we just, oh, well, you think the earth is flat? That's fine. No, it's not. What are you talking about? Evolution is an unproven theory. And what are we doing here? And one thing you said, Lamont, about how, these folks like to pretend they're smart. It's very obvious, like when you're actually smart, it's very obvious to tell who is smart and who's pretending to be smart. Because people who are pretending to be smart, you mentioned it earlier in the episode, where people will use big words to try to make themselves sound intelligent. And the funny thing is, you can use a lot of big words and let people know you're intelligent. But as long as you use them properly and within context that people can figure it out, then it's fine. That's how smart people actually talk, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if, for example, if I have a crowd in front of me and I use like a large, let's say I say obsequious, and they may not know what obsequious means. But if I say, oh, I remember this time I was in 11th grade and I got home late, and I knew my mom would be mad, so I made sure that I was really kind and obsequious and doing everything she wanted. They can figure out through context what that means. That is how intelligent people speak. Unintelligent people throw in a big word in a clunky and truncated manner. But one more thing I want to add. One of my favorite things to do, this actually happened at a different barbershop when I'm debating conservatives and stuff like this, is when you debate conservatives, once again, they're not that bright, but they'll recognize that you are. And so they say to me, hey, look, man, we may have our disagreements, but you're clearly intelligent. You know what you're talking about. I think you're a smart guy. I love it when they say that, because I never say it back. I never say it back. I never, ever say it back. They're like, oh, man, we disagree, but you're a really smart guy. I'm like, thanks. And I just leave it there. It is, I fucking love it, man. And it happens all the time. They always walk right into that trap. I recommend you guys do the same. You got to be smart to do it. But when it happens, keep that in your holster. It's great.
God, see, ladies, if you want this kind of intelligent mayhem on a day-to-day basis, you have got to go in my video description box and subscribe to this man's TikTok. I expect some of all my 365,000 subscribers to go check this brother out, because he will keep you engaged and entertained all at the same damn time. And his name is not that of Sierra's baby daddy, but he can do things at the same damn time.
Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Come back and check me out. I'm gonna read one super chat because somebody remembered. DeMarcus Vaughn hit me with a $10 super chat.
Hey.
Happy early birthday. Hey, brother, I appreciate you, man. I'm surprised you even remembered, but I am very grateful, and I appreciate you sticking through all my content. Every time I've transitioned to something that's more important, you've been there for me, and I'm very grateful. And having said that, ladies and gentlemen, till that next Sexy as Hell video with me and TJ, we'll see you.
Later, guys.